Chapter 71. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing this scene, all the Navy cheered for victory. The Straw Hats are dead. No matter how powerful you are, you have to kneel down in front of the warship. Oops. It's too late, Nami couldn't help exclaiming. No matter how fast she was at this time, it was impossible to pass the warship faster. In front of such a behemoth, the Melee shivered like a kitten. Fight, Sanji, I have already made plans to die with the enemy. If you crash my ship, I will take your warship as compensation. Rubber, balloons. On the other hand, Luffy inhaled violently, allowing his body to swell continuously, and his whole body lay across the boat, trying to stop the warship with the elastic force of rubber. However, how violent the impact of the warship was, especially when Nelson came prepared. The sudden impact of the sea water was enough to sink a small island. Boom! Luffy's whole body was suddenly compressed again. Luffy! Usopp couldn't help but screamed. Drink! Sanji's eyes shrank suddenly, and he was about to shoot. Although Luffy is a rubber man, he still has limits. If this continues, he may be crushed. Hey, Nelson, you big villain, we are here. Come and chase. However, at this moment, Abisa's voice suddenly rang out, and she saw herself taking Master Long, leaving the Mary, and drifting on the sea alone. Their target is me, everyone, I can't keep dragging everyone down, Abis firmly said, one person and one dragon, riding the current, drifting away far away. Abis, seeing this, Nami couldn't help shouting. However, Abis went further and further away. Not good, Millennium Dragon. Eric, who was fighting against Sauron, saw the Millennium Dragon drifting away, so he broke away from the battle with Sauron, drove the speedboat and quickly chased after him. His goal is the Millennium Dragon, everything else is indifferent. Longevity Medicine. Nelson also shrank his pupils, and immediately ordered to chase down the Millennium Dragon, ignoring the Straw Hats. Yes. The military order was like a mountain, and everyone dared not neglect it, so they quickly changed their course and chased after the 1,000-year-old dragon. Even the 50 large ships that fought against Moonlight immediately turned around and chased after the 1,000-year dragon. Nothing can compare to immortality. Their goal is Abis, hurry up and protect Abis. Abis. Zoro, Sanji and the others met, saw Abis leaving, and hurriedly said. It is good. Needless to say, Usopp turned around and chased after him. Suddenly a spectacular scene appeared. On the endless sea, Abis drifted away with the Millennium Dragon. Behind him, Eric rode a speedboat, riding the wind and waves, and went away violently. Admiral Nelson was driving the warship. 50 large ships followed behind him, although the Melee kept chasing after it. How could it compare with a warship? However, Nami's navigation skills are very good. Although she can't surpass it, she can keep pace with it. Has it evolved into this situation? Moonlight watched this scene, but she didn't expect Abis to make such a decision in the end. At that moment, he performed the Raptor Dragon Severing Slash, and the human and sword merged into one, constantly moving on the sea. He was fast, no slower than a warship, but suddenly his pupils shrank, and he looked at the distant sea. That is. At the same time, the captain's expression changed wildly, and he shouted. Quick, everyone, stop advancing immediately, Admiral, there is no wind. What? Quiet belt? Not good. Stop now. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked and stopped immediately. Even Nelson couldn't help frowning, and immediately stopped the warship. Just kidding. Those monsters of the Neptune class, even if he drives 10 warships, he can't hit them. Fly in the sea, the king of the sea is the Neptune. No, it's a windless belt. Nami's complexion couldn't help but change, of course she knows what a windless belt is. That is the grave of all navigators. What is a windless belt? Usopp, Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy asked. Even Eric, who was far ahead, frowned and slowed down. Although he longed for immortality, he was not stupid. In this situation, something appalling must have happened. The so-called windless zone is a place where there is no wind flow or sea water flow. There, everything is still. A ship sails on the sea, relying on wind currents and ocean currents. If there is no such thing, it will stay there forever, especially. Nami explained, saying this, her body trembled. The windless zone is where all the sea kings live. Generally, there are at least dozens of sea kings gathered in the windless belt. Of course, this is only an estimate. In such a place, there may be hundreds or even thousands of sea kings. What? That everyone was stunned. That's a Neptune. One sea king is so terrifying, let alone hundreds, thousands. Who can resist? No matter what kind of sea king or calm belt, ABI's is our partner, we must chase after it, Usopp, set sail. However, Luffy didn't care about this and shouted loudly, seeing ABI's drifting into the calm zone, he can't control that much anymore. Yes, Usopp ordered to act immediately. Nami nodded, although the windless belt is a dead end, but for the sake of her companions, she has to break through. Sanji Zoro nodded, no objection. At this moment, the Moonlight and human sword merged into one, galloping over the sea, above the sea, the roar of the air caused by his fast movement was everywhere. I saw the Moonlight moving forward indomitably, moving quickly towards the windless belt. Moonlight. Hey, Moonlight, that's a windless belt. Seeing this, Usopp and the others shouted hastily, but Moonlight gave a thumbs up. Everyone, leave it to me, I'll bring AB's back. Moonlight, leave it to you. Hearing this, Luffy shouted. Got it, Captain. Moonlight responded, and disappeared from everyone's sight in a blink of an eye. The quiet belt is the cemetery of all navigators, whether it's the Navy or the pirates, it's the same. Among us, Luffy, you are a landlubber. Although Sanji and Zoro are good, they are still far behind in facing the Neptunes. Usopp is a liar. I have no power to restrain the chicken, and now there is only Moonlight, Nami murmured. Although I don't want to admit it, but he is the only one who can save ABI's, Sanji and Zoro nodded, approving what Nami said for the first time. How did I become a liar? I am so innocent, Usopp burst into tears. Sister, can you save me some face? Moonlight, Luffy watched the sea closely, as a landlubber, he naturally knew the horror of the sea. Entered the windless zone, Nelson looked at the sea in front of him, and frowned tightly, give up. Or give up. Who can compete with Neptunes? Nobody. Chapter 72 The Ability of the Fruit Quietly. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, this doubt did not last long. I saw a sky-shattering roar suddenly sounded in the windless belt ahead. I saw the sea tumbling violently, one after another huge waves, centered on the windless belt, spreading towards the distance. The sea was raging, the sea was roaring, and super-large whirlpools with a diameter of 10 meters were violently surging one after another. It's like a terrifying sea beast that overturned the river and overturned the entire sea. At the same time, there was Abi's exclamation. No, ABI's is in danger. Moonlight. Oops, on the Mary, Luffy and others exclaimed. Not good, did you alarm the Sea Kings? Nelson's face turned extremely ugly. The Millennium Dragon was swallowed by the Neptune just like that. But he didn't dare to stay. As the Admiral of the Sea, he naturally knew the horror of the Sea Kings in the sea. Especially in the terrifying and violent waves right now, if they continue to stay, I am afraid that something unexpected will happen. Although extremely unwilling, but at the moment he can only order to turn around and leave. Hateful, Eric said bitterly, although he is bound to win the Millennium Dragon, but in this situation, no matter how courageous he is, no matter how tempting the temptation of longevity is, he will not have the courage to move on. ABI's. Moonlight, Luffy and the others drank wildly, so they were going to drive the Mary and go to the rescue. They will never give up. However, at this moment, a scene that horrified everyone appeared. In the windless zone, a dozen huge monsters with a height of more than 10 meters rushed out of the windless zone, and the sea rushed and roared violently. It's a Sea King. And their target is everyone. No, the Neptunes are gone. At the moment, Nelson didn't dare to stay any longer, and ordered to leave immediately. Eric can't wait to grow 2 legs and run as fast as he can. It's so big. Is this the Neptune class? Nami and Usopp trembled all over, looking at the behemoth in front of them. They were extremely horrified. Hateful. Although Sanji and Zoro were full of fighting spirit, they couldn't help but feel powerless in the face of a dozen behemoths rushing out at once. 1 or 2 is okay, so many, it's just a joke. Look. However, Luffy was not afraid at all, and was about to step forward to avenge ABI's, but suddenly his eyes moved, and he saw Moonlight standing on the body of the Sea King, holding a sword, with a calm expression on his face. ABI's waved her hands aside and greeted everyone. And behind the Sea Kings, dragging the Dragon Master, galloping forward. What? This. I go. Is that Moonlight? What's the situation? Hearing Luffy's shout, Sanji and others couldn't help being surprised. They all looked at it, and they were stunned to see this scene as if struck by lightning. What's happening here? Neptune's pulling the Millennium Dragon. Moonlight and ABI's standing on top of them like that. Not only are they safe and sound, but it seems that the Neptunes listen to them very much. This. How could such a thing happen? Nelson, who had already left, couldn't help being stunned. Is this Neptune being tamed? Hiss. And all the Navy gasped, watching this scene with disbelief. Is there such a thing? This is fake. Oh my god. Eric also stopped suddenly, his mouth opened wide enough to stuff a duck egg. He looked at the scene in shock, feeling like he was dreaming. Otherwise, if it was not a dream, how could such a thing happen? Lord Moonlight, thank you for saving me. ABI's looked at Moonlight gratefully. She thought she was doomed, but after coming to the Windless Belt and alarming so many behemoths at once, she and Lord Long were going to become the prey of Sea Kings. Unexpectedly, the Moonlight rushed in. With a look, all the vicious Neptunes were frightened and trembled like pheasants. Where is the slightest dignity of Neptunes? Finally Moonlight let her communicate with them. She is a person with the ability to whisper the fruit, and can penetrate into the hearts of all creatures. This is how she and Master Long met. After trying it now, I found that Neptunes can really communicate. From their communication, she could deeply feel the terrifying heart of the Neptunes and their fear of the Moonlight. While she was shocked, she shared their experiences with them. After listening to them, the Neptunes actually agreed to help them. She was overjoyed immediately. These Neptunes are really kind. So there is the present scene. It's okay, Master Long has remembered everything. Moonlight said lightly. Well, Master Long has already remembered everything. Warship Island is Dragon Island, and Dragon Island is Warship Island. ABI's nodded affirmatively. After being so stimulated, Master Long also remembered all the memories. Tell them, let them deal with those navies. Let's take Master Long to find Long Island. Moonlight said. Ah. ABI's nodded, lying on a Sea King, communicating with them. Immediately, all the Sea Kings nodded in unison, roared again and again, and rushed towards all the navy. What's going on? Why are the Neptunes coming towards us? What did the girls say to them? Seeing this, all the dead souls of the navy trembled and were extremely terrified. That's a Neptune. Go, turn around. Nelson didn't dare to neglect, and quickly ordered. Just kidding, immortality is tempting, but if you die now, then everything is over. At the moment, all the navies are fleeing one after another. ABI's, Moonlight, Luffy and the others shouted joyfully to the two of them, and at the same time pulled them onto the Mary. What happened? Why did all the Sea Kings go to attack the navy? Usopp asked in surprise. Not only him, everyone on board was extremely curious. ABI's glanced at Moonlight and explained in detail. It turns out that this is the case. Your ability has come in handy. Luffy nodded immediately. He understood. This guy, Moonlight, is even Neptune so afraid of him? Sometimes I always wonder if Moonlight is the reincarnation of the king of the Neptune. This guy, Sanji and the others looked at Moonlight in amazement, while Usopp's brains widened, and he began to boldly guess Moonlight's real-life experience. Master Long, the battleship island is here. Moonlight looked at Master Long. At this moment, Master Long had already stood up, and after remembering everything, it seemed to regain its spirit, spread its wings, and roared in the air. Immediately, bursts of dragon chant echoed throughout the sea. What is he doing? Luffy couldn't help asking. It said that it found Dragon Island, right here, and at the same time he is calling for his companions. ABI's translated. Companion? Sure enough, this is Long Island. A companion of the Millennium Dragon? Isn't that also the Millennium Dragon? Okay. Chapter 73 Departure, The Great Route. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing this, Luffy and others looked forward to it. Long Island, this is a legendary place. Roar, roar. At this moment, in the distant sky, the same dragon's chants suddenly sounded one after another at the same time. It seems that many dragons are echoing. What's that sound? Everyone couldn't help being shocked, and quickly looked towards the horizon. Usopp pulled up the magnifying glass and looked into the distance. Suddenly, his whole body froze, as if he had been shocked. He froze in place, speechless. That's. What? The eyes of Luffy and others were attracted to them, and they gathered in the sky. Suddenly, many black spots first appeared in the sky, and the black spots approached rapidly, at an extremely fast speed, and then suddenly changed, and there appeared 1,000 dragons, densely packed. There were thousands of them. Following Long Ye's long howl, he echoed. All of a sudden, the dragons shook the sky, thousands of dragons roared, and the surrounding sea and sky were filled with the terrifying roar of dragons, and even the sea kept getting choppy. This is the Millennium Dragon. There are so many thousand-year-old dragons, and there are so many thousand-year-old dragons in the world. The Navy, which was fighting with the Sea Kings, saw this spectacular scene, and couldn't help being shocked speechless. Longevity medicine. Nelson's breathing was stagnant. Although the Sea Kings were helpless, even his warships, seeing so many thousand-year-old dragons appeared, it was like seeing a lot of elixir. Many Millennium Dragons. Eric had the same idea as him. He looked at the scene in front of him, and he didn't care about the pursuit of King Hai, so he turned around immediately. At this time, the Sea Kings were also surprised, stopped their bodies, and looked at the scene in the sky. Although they are kings in the sea, the Millennium Dragon is the king in the sky. The two kings are now gathered in a sea area. However, the Millennium Dragon ignored these, and the Qianlong Dragon roared together, shaking the sky and singing the dragon's chant, causing the entire sea to vibrate violently. At this time, Master Long was also extremely excited, and kept roaring along with the roar. Luffy and the others looked at the scene in shock. Without making a sound, only ABI's looked excited. From the roar, she knew that they were having a conversation, and this place was indeed Long Island. At this moment, it seemed that affected by the roar of the 1,000-year-old dragon, the sea area 10 miles around Warship Island suddenly changed, as if an earthquake had occurred on the bottom of the sea. The waves of the sea erupted into turbulent waves, with the battleship island as the center. One after another violent vortexes rose leisurely. Immediately after that, in the vortex, shrouded in water vapor, islands with a new look rose from the vortex, forming an incomparably spectacular island in a 10-mile sea area. The sky and the earth are fresh, a rainbow runs across the islands, and the 1,000-year-old dragons seem to have returned to their hometown. When they stop on the island, the Dragon Master also flies high. The whole person seems to be rejuvenated, lying down lazily on a piece of homeland, and squinting his eyes comfortably. Master Long said that many years ago, Dragon Island would sink to the bottom of the sea at regular intervals, and they had no choice but to leave their hometown and wander around. Originally, he and his companions traveled together, but unfortunately they couldn't fly in the middle of the flight, so their companions left first, and he stayed behind. Unexpectedly, this stay lasted for so many years. He thanked you very much for bringing it home. ABI's translated, looking at Master Long with joy. Congratulations, Lord Dragon. Lord Dragon. Hearing this, Luffy and others laughed. It should be the movement of the submarine volcano, or the change of the ocean currents. The sea is constantly turbulent. Sometimes we appear to be peaceful on the surface, but in fact, there are undercurrents surging in the seabed. No one knows what changes are happening. Long Island must be like this because of some kind of seabed activity. Nami exclaimed, from the analysis of the navigation, it seems that a conclusion can be drawn. Wow, the smart Miss Nami is shining. Sanji fell instantly. Sauron didn't speak, just put his hands on the pole of the boat and looked at the beautiful scenery in front of him. Be amazed by the beauty in front of you. It's so beautiful. I didn't expect the sea to be so beautiful. But at the same time, compared to the sea, we are too small. Even if we are creatures like the 1,000-year dragon, once the sea gets angry, they will have to leave their homes. What can we do? Usopp sighed, and the rare ones didn't speak big words, but murmured, seeing the Millennium Dragon returning to his hometown, he suddenly felt homesick. Yeah, how big the sea is, and how small we are, but this is the value of our existence, isn't it? A 1,000-year-old dragon travels thousands of miles to return to our hometown. We risk our lives to go to sea, isn't it all for the dreams in our hearts? In this world, any creature is worthy of awe, and any beautiful scenery is worth admiring, but the most important thing is their dreams, because this is the meaning of survival. The Sea Kings are guarding, and these navies are nothing to worry about, and it is time for us to take advantage of such a beautiful scenery. Moonlight nodded and looked at Luffy. This guy. Hearing this, Sanji and others looked at Moonlight one after another, as expected of the deputy captain. At every moment, he could always say something reasonable, which made them feel moved. Luffy swung his arms towards Abi's who was with Master Long, and shouted loudly. Abi, we are leaving, goodbye. Luffy, thank you, thank you. Abi is also stretched out her arms, with a grateful expression on her face, thanking her repeatedly. Even Lord Long, and all the 1,000-year-old dragons, looked up in Luffy's direction and nodded, as if to express their gratitude. As for the navy, even trying every means to get close to Eric who went to the island, in front of the Neptunes, he was nothing more than a mayfly shaking a tree. After a while, all of them were thrown into the sea and drifted with the sea. At this moment, after bidding farewell to Abi's, the Merry headed towards the great route under the command of Nami. The group was very excited. Looking at the increasingly changing ocean currents, they knew that this place had already left the East China Sea. At this moment, the ocean current in front of him became more and more turbulent. Suddenly, after all the ocean currents converged to a certain place, they stopped going down, and instead rushed towards a certain high place. What's going on? Why are the ocean currents going up? Is there an ocean current in this world that rides on it? Sanji looked down at the boat in surprise. I heard that the Great Route is an incredible sea of miracles. Here, anything can happen. Although it is unbelievable, it seems reasonable, Sauron said slightly excitedly. What an incredible place, Usopp sighed, and Nami opened the navigation chart of the Great Route, pointed to a place, and said. Chapter 74 Upside Down Mountain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Look, according to the map, we have now boarded the ocean current heading for the Great Route, and are now headed towards the Red Earth continent. The Red Earth continent is a ring-shaped continent that intersects with the Great Sea Route. It divides the seas of the world into the 4 seas of the East China Sea, the West Sea, the South China Sea, and the North Sea. There are only 2 ways for us to go to the Great Sea Route. One is to cross the Windless Belt, where we can directly reach the Great Sea Route. But this is impossible. The Windless Belt is a Sea King-like area. No matter how strong a person is, it is impossible to cross the Windless Belt. Then there is only one way to go, take the ocean current upside down the mountain, and then enter the Great Route. And now, we have boarded this current, then everyone protects Melly, pay close attention to everything around, and prepare to enter the Great Route. Nami said. Great Route? I've been waiting for this day for a long time, Sauron said excitedly. Me too, I left the old man to go to sea, just for this, Sanji also nodded. I want to become the One Piece, and I will risk everything for this. Luffy stretched out his palm, looked at the red earth continent, and swore. I want to become the strongest navigator in the world, and I want to draw all the sea charts. Nami also smiled slightly, putting her palm on Luffy's. I want to find all blue, Sanji also said. Of course I want to become the world's #1 swordsman, defeat Hawkeye, and defeat Moonlight, Sauron swears. I want to be a brave sea warrior, Usopp hastily reached out too. Finally, there is only Moonlight left. I want to find One Piece, and at the same time, I want to pursue the lost history. Let's take a look. What is the truth of this world? Moonlight smiled. Come to this world, choose to go to sea, isn't it for this reason? I'm afraid this is what everyone wants to know. What is the truth of the world? And now, he's one step closer. Okay, let's move forward together. All palms joined together, smiling at each other, watching the rushing ocean current, and making oaths. Wow, at this moment, the current of the ocean suddenly became violent, as if there was a behemoth on the bottom of the sea, galloping endlessly, dragging the Mary, rushing fiercely. Look, there really are upward currents in this world, Nami ordered again and again, and everyone immediately started to move, manipulating the Mary, maintaining stability in this ocean current, and riding the ocean current to move forward. Usopp looked up, shocked, everyone looked up, and immediately saw a huge channel passing through it from bottom to top, and the rushing ocean current, from bottom to top, was violent and violent. It's spectacular, Sanji, Zoro, Luffy and others were shocked. The Moonlight was also shocked. What is the Sea of Miracles? What is the magnificent scenery? It's called. Just the entrance of the Great Route is full of incredible, one can imagine what kind of sea this is. Not good, the sea current is too fast, and the melee is a little out of control, everyone hurry up. At this moment, Nami couldn't help but change color, the current was too fast, and the melee was like a flat boat in a storm. It was best if it could not capsize, but it was impossible to keep sailing in a fixed direction. It's not good, everyone. There is a cave over there. If the current speed is maintained, the Mary will crash into it, and it will be smashed to pieces. Usopp suddenly looked into the distance with a lens, pointed at the hole not far ahead, and said in horror. What? At this time, the Mary was approaching, and everyone saw the entrance of the cave that Usopp said. If this trend continues, the Mary will definitely crash into it. Damn it, the current is too strong to change course. Sanji stepped forward to steer the helm, but at this time the boat was completely out of control. Is the first difficulty coming so soon? Sauron's face became serious. Humph, Luffy snorted angrily, daring to stop him from going out to sea is unforgivable. He was about to make a move right now. With the elasticity of his rubber, he couldn't change the current, but it wasn't difficult to change the direction of the boat. However, at this time, Moonlight had already come to the bow, standing where Luffy often sat. Moonlight, please. Seeing this, everyone said one after another. During the trip to the East China Sea, everyone has built up great trust in Moonlight. Moonlight gave a thumbs up, with armed domineering aura wrapped around his arms, and then he waved again and again. One by one sword aura, violently slashed out from the bow of the ship, but the sword aura from these slashes did not disperse, but formed a huge sword aura in front. The sword energy continues to condense, especially after the Phantom Sword Dance reaches the level of LV2, the speed and number of slashes are more, and the power that can be superimposed is also stronger. I saw a huge mass of sword energy slashing out from Yueguang's hand. Wow, the surging, violent and turbulent sea current was immediately cut open and rolled away, and this crescent-like sword energy slammed into the rock wall at the entrance of the cave. Boom! Under the sudden powerful sword energy, a large section of the cave entrance mountain wall was cut off, and the rushing sea current rushed towards the gap, and the sea current parted and weakened slightly. Seeing this, without Nami's instructions, Sanji quickly turned the course. Now, the Mary could finally be steered, riding the current. At the very last moment, the Mary brushed past the mountain wall of the cave entrance, and continued galloping towards the entrance. So close, that seeing this, Usopp breathed a sigh of relief. To tell you the truth, Moonlight, you are really a BT, you can even chop the mountain walls of the Red Earth continent. Nami also breathed a sigh of relief, but looked at Moonlight in surprise. Everyone nodded, indeed. Be careful, it's about to get off. However, the Moonlight looked forward, it was too early to be happy now. I saw that the melee had already risen to the commanding heights by riding the current, and the next thing was the current from top to bottom, like a roller coaster. Okay, that everyone was shocked and looked over. Immediately, the ocean current changed suddenly, and a sense of weightlessness suddenly hit. They saw the Mary, like a roller coaster in an amusement park, from top to bottom, riding the current, crazily rushing down at an incomparably terrifying speed. What? That everyone couldn't help screaming, and quickly hugged everything that could be hugged, fixed their bodies, and followed the melee, violently descending. Luffy, look, and at this moment, Moonlight stood on the bow of the boat, extremely concentrated. Letting the current roar and the Mary galloping, he remained motionless, the hull fluctuated violently, but he seemed to be walking on flat ground, extremely stable, suddenly pointed to a huge and incomparable mouth in front of him, and said. That is, not only Luffy, but everyone else looked at it one after another and couldn't help being shocked. What a big whale, is there such a big whale in the world? His mouth is so big, no good, is he going to eat us? Chapter 75 Raab. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I saw a huge whale 10 times bigger than the Sea Kings, traversing the ocean current from top to bottom, the mouth opened wide, like a huge black hole, swallowing the billowing ocean current. The nearby sea current has become extremely fast because of it. It's such an incredible sea. Is this the Great Route? Just at the entrance, there are such big whales, Luffy screamed wildly, excited. It's unbelievable. This is probably the largest whale in the world. It is indeed a great route, and only in such a place can we find the legendary All Blue. Sanji also got excited and lit a cigarette. Let me chop him up. Sauron put his hand on the hilt of his sword. He got 2 new knives and wanted to try their sharpness all the time. I said hello, we are about to be swallowed by him, don't you guys worry at all. Usopp stared at the 3 of them like a madman. Brother, is this the time to be emotional? Hurry up and find a way, otherwise we will be swallowed by whales. Moonlight. Nami looked at Moonlight. At this time, only Moonlight is the most reliable. Shoot. Moonlight nodded and jumped into the sea. Dragon breaks the sky. The human and sword merged into one, and the whole person immediately moved quickly in the waves. Yuchi supported the furious downstream, faster, came to the whale in an instant, jumped up, and landed on the head of the whale, with the domineering armed color wrapped around the palm of his hand, and gently pressed on the head of the whale. Drink. Boom. The domineering energy flowed directly into the body. What? Suddenly, a sound like a train whistle, but 100 times louder sounded. The huge body of the whale rolled over immediately. All of a sudden, the sea current rose up with violent waves, and the whole sea rolled up, with the whale as the center. A huge vortex with a diameter of meters suddenly formed. Within 100 meters, everything was swallowed by this violent vortex and entered the whale's mouth. At this moment, the melee is really like an ant that fell into the sea. Although it is constantly struggling, it is of no avail at all, and can only be swallowed helplessly. No, it's over. Moonlight, what did you do? Oops. Are you going to be swallowed? Luffy and the others stared angrily. Originally, they weren't like this, but as soon as Uegwang made a move, they immediately became like this. Moonlight, look what you've done. Unless he was killed with a sword, how could such a big whale roll over and not move at all? I have no grievances with it, why should I kill it, but since it blocks my way, it will not be lenient, let alone. It's Raab. Moonlight chuckled softly. With his current strength, it is not a problem to kill Raab with a single sword, but he cannot do so. If he is dealing with the enemy, he will not hesitate, but if there is no grievance or hatred, then he can't do it. Afterwards, Moonlight followed the Mary and was swallowed by the current together. At the same time, in the body of the whale, on a small island, an old man wearing slippers, shorts, and short sleeves was leisurely basking in the sun, leaning back on a deck chair, flipping through a newspaper leisurely. Suddenly, the sea current around the island shook violently, even the surrounding sky trembled violently. As it started again, that he put down the newspaper, looked at the swaying current, and frowned. He was no stranger to this riot, and was even a little accustomed to it, so he didn't feel anything, and lay down leisurely as before. However, at this moment, 4 or 5 black spots suddenly fell from the sky and flew towards him. The old man was dumbfounded, and saw the black spots, which were 4 or 5 strange people. They shouted hysterically and fell from the sky. Boom! The hut he built was smashed to pieces. Clap! Seeing this, the newspaper in the old man's hand fell to the ground. Is this an island? Where are we? Am I not dead yet? Hey, is there a strange uncle on the island? Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, and Nami suddenly fell to the ground, and finally stood up, looking around with a dazed expression. Luffy looked at Kurox with a surprised face. Boom! At the same time, the melee fell from the sky and smashed into the ocean current angrily, bursting into a stormy sea. Mary, seeing the melee, the 5 couldn't help but be overjoyed. Just as he was about to go forward, he saw an old man throwing his body sideways, blocking the way, and looking at the 5 people with an unfriendly expression. Coloca's was in a very upset mood. Whoever was basking in the sun and enjoying a wonderful and leisurely time would be upset if someone suddenly interrupted him, especially when they destroyed the house he had built with great difficulty. But when he saw Luffy's straw hat, his pupils shrank. That is. Suddenly a long-lost memory flooded my mind. At the same time, in a long corridor, Moonlight looked around curiously. Is this the inside of Raab's body? Sure enough, it's riddled with holes. Moonlight murmured. Generally, the lifespan of whales is 50 to 60 years, and female whales can live for 90 years. Although the Great Route is a sea full of incredible things, it cannot escape the limit of life and death. Raab has been waiting for Brook for 50 years, and even the female whale is over 50 years old and is beginning to age. Now the body is riddled with holes. Crocs. Is he treating Raab? What about Luffy and the others? Looking at the pipes nailed to the flesh wall, Moonlight couldn't help but sigh. Immediately thinking of Luffy and the others, his pupils flashed. Seeing the color is domineering, immediately, with him as the center, the domineering began to spread, and in the mind, the breath of life appeared in the mind one after another. Sure enough, they are fine, and they met Kurox, presumably because of the straw hat. They will not embarrass them. This is. Moonlight murmured. Luffy and the others can rest assured that they are fine, and are about to look for them, when suddenly 2 strange breaths appeared in their perception. It's Miss Wednesday and Mr. 9. Moonlight's heart moved. At this time, a man and a woman came to the other side of the road. Miss Wednesday, that's great. We finally came to the body of this whale. Next, we only need to find its heart and kill it. Then we will have enough food for our business. After the man looked around for a while, he said happily. Mr. 9, that's right, if such a big whale is killed and brought back, our mission will be overfulfilled. Miss Wednesday nodded. As long as she can complete the task, she can get closer to that man. Okay, let's get started. The 2 looked at each other and smiled, ready to act. Hey, what are you going to do? However, at this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. The 2 of them were shocked, and immediately turned around, and immediately saw a young man in black with a sword in their sights. Who are you? Miss shouted on Wednesday. No matter who he is, since he heard our conversation, he can't stay. Chapter 76 Record Pointers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mr. 9 shouted in a cold voice, and the 2 sticks in his hands flew directly towards the Moonlight, and his whole body also charged in the air. This is their secret mission, and since people know about it, the only way to kill them is to silence them. Although there is no way, you can only blame yourself for being unlucky. A trace of hesitation flashed in Miss Wednesday's eyes, and then he rushed towards the Moonlight. With a pull of the little finger, a white line was suddenly drawn out from the inside of the sleeve, and then quickly spun in his hand. forming a dancing saw, cutting towards the moonlight. Peacock saw. Do you want to start? Seeing this, Yueguang smiled faintly, facing Mr. Nine who was rushing forward with a stick in his hands. He just walked over. Go to hell, Mr. Nine coldly shouted. The twin sticks danced, and with rolling force, he struck down violently. Boom, however, just as he got close to the moonlight kicked in the air, and his whole body was like a cannonball, galloping back violently. Not good, seeing this, Miss Wednesday quickly withdrew the peacock saw with her little finger, and moved forward, trying to stop Mr. Nine flying upside down. However, just as she touched Mr. Nine, she suddenly felt an indescribable force, which exploded suddenly. Immediately, her whole body flew out together with Mr. Nine. Boom, a door was suddenly knocked open, and there was a vast ocean outside the door, and the two bodies immediately fell straight down. What, you say we're in the belly of a whale? At this moment, the five of Luffy looked at Kurox with disbelief on their faces. They were overwhelmed by the current and could no longer tell the difference between east, west, and north. When they landed again, they were already here. They didn't expect to be in the belly of the whale is called Raab, and the old man is called Kurox, the former ship doctor of One Piece, who lives in Abu's stomach and treats him. It's 50 years in a flash. Raab also changed from a small whale to a large one. The reason why I have been staying here is to wait for the partners I have promised, and the first wait is 50 years. Its partner went to the other side of the Red Earth continent, and it crashes into the Red Earth continent every day, trying in vain to break through the Red Earth continent, so that its partner can come back. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. 50 years. The Great Route is full of dangers. If he has not returned for 50 years, then he must be dead. But when thinking of Abu's story, no one could tell. Just then, a man and a woman fell from a pipe, screaming, and fell into the sea. Then, a boy in black fell from the sky, and the moment he was about to fall into the sea, a roar of sounded, and then the whole person, like a phantom, instantly crossed the distance of tens of meters between them and came to the island. What? Seeing this, Kurox's pupils shrank. With his knowledge, how could he fail to see the terrifying strength displayed by the boy in black at this moment? Moonlight, that's great. Moonlight, and Luffy and others, seeing the moonlight, all laughed loudly. They couldn't find the moonlight, thought they were separated from the moonlight, and were about to find a way to find it, but the moonlight fell from the sky, which was really great. Everyone is here. Moonlight smiled and said hello one by one, then looked at the old man in slippers. I didn't expect that there are people living in this kind of place. I didn't expect that there is such a character in your group, One Piece. Maybe it's not far away. Kurox took a deep look at Moonlight, then looked at Luffy and the others, and sighed. Hey, Moonlight, aren't you a little flattered? You should know that the one who is praising you now is the former ship doctor of One Piece. Seeing this, Usopp poked Moonlight with his arm and said. That's right, I didn't expect Mr. Cloud to be the ship's doctor of the former One Piece king. He is a man who has seen big winds and waves. Even he recognizes you so much. It's really amazing. Nami also looked at Moonlight enviously. This is the person on the former One Piece ship. Sanji and Zoro pursed their lips and didn't speak. They didn't expect the old man to comment on Moonlight like this, but thinking of Moonlight's terrifying power, this evaluation is also pertinent. Of course, how can the crew of One Piece be bad? Luffy nodded, definitely said Kurox. By the way, Moonlight, who are they? At this time, Nami looked at a man and a woman who fell into the water. At this time, they had landed on the other side of the island, looking embarrassed. I don't know, but I heard that they were going to kill the whale, so I brought them here. It just so happens that we have just come to the Great Route, and we don't know anything. It won't be wrong to ask more. Moonlight said lightly. What? He actually killed Raab? Unforgivable, who are you? Hearing this, several people suddenly became angry. On the other hand, Kurox didn't respond, as if he had known them for a long time. The two of them did not speak, as if refusing to answer. You don't need to ask. If they don't want to say, you won't get the answer you want, and even if they say it, you, a rookie who just came to the Great Route, will not understand at all. If you want to know the answer, you don't need to ask others, you can find it yourself. Kurok said lightly, looking at Luffy. Your name is Luffy, you want to be the One Piece, right? Yes, I want to find One Piece and become One Piece, Luffy said firmly. Okay, One Piece, then get ready to go, but before that, you'd better have a record pointer, so that you won't lose your way. Kurok reminded, pointing to the pointer on his arm. Record pointer. Hearing this, Luffy and others were puzzled. Hee, I'm really a rookie. The Great Route is not as simple as you imagined. It is a special sea area. To sail on the Great Route, navigation skills and experience alone are not enough. The magnetic field, celestial phenomena, currents, and air currents on the sea are all chaotic. If you don't have this record pointer, let alone sailing, it will be very difficult for you to even confirm your position, and even find a piece. I think it will be difficult for you to leave here, Mr. Nine on the side laughed. What did you say? Luffy and the others couldn't help shouting angrily. He is right. The Great Sea Route is such a chaotic sea area. If you want to sail on the Great Sea Route, you need to rely on navigation skills alone. Experience is useless. Otherwise, someone will have found the One Piece by now. But if you have this record pointer, it will be different. The record pointer can record the magnetism between the islands on the Great Route. You can find the next direction correctly as long as you follow the direction pointed by the record pointer. Chapter 77. Now that you are on the boat, you must trust the captain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kurok said lightly. Then what? Where can I buy record pointers? Nami couldn't help asking, she is the only navigator on board, and if navigation skills are useless, then recording the pointer is her only way. What's more, she is also very curious about what the record pointer is all about. If you want to buy it, you can only go to the nearby islands, but unfortunately there is no record pointer, you can't even get out of here, but I happen to have one, and I can give it to you. Kurok took out his record pointer and handed it to Luffy. I'm old, and I don't plan to continue to go to sea, and I've lived with this guy for a long time, and I also have feelings. Since you want to be the One Piece, then I will help you. Thank you very much, old sir. Nami took it and thanked her. Remember, after arriving at the next island, you must record the pointer to fully record the magnetic force, otherwise it will still be the same. Kurok said lightly. Well, thank you very much. Luffy and the others nodded in unison to express their thanks to Kurok. Okay, let's go. With the record pointer, Nami clapped her hands, she couldn't wait to try it out. Okay, but let's get out of Raab's body first. Sanji nodded, looking at the completely enclosed ocean currents around him. That's easy, Moonlight, let's go back the way we came. Hearing this, Luffy looked at Moonlight and smiled, they came in because of the Moonlight, and of course the Moonlight had to take them out. Hey, Luffy, what are you going to do? Usopp suddenly had a bad feeling and couldn't help shouting, go back the same way and let the Moonlight lead the way again. Are they going to go through it all over again? Luffy, don't mess around, it will hurt Abu. Moonlight, don't listen to him. Nami hurriedly called out to Moonlight. That's right, Luffy, don't mess around. Sanji exhaled a smoke ring and said. Don't worry, it won't happen this time, everyone get on board, I already know how to get out. Moonlight shook her head and closed her eyes. Seeing the color is domineering. Buzz, immediately, a series of pictures came to mind. Soon, he found the exit. Okay, let's go. Hearing this, everyone nodded to express their trust, and boarded the boat one after another. Before leaving, Sauron did not forget to take Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine away. These two people are dangerous elements, and staying here will only cause trouble. Facing the mighty Sauron, the two had no temper at all, but what no one noticed was that the moment the two were brought aboard, there was a hint of trickery flashing in their eyes. At this moment, Moonlight unfolded his domineering aura, and under the domineering aura, Abu's body seemed to be transparent, and Moonlight quickly found the exit. That's the whale's nostril. Every time a whale dives, every 10 minutes, it has to surface for air. The water flow will be sprayed out with the air. This is the exit seen by the Moonlight. Coming. At this moment, the water suddenly surged up, and the Moonlight quickly reminded everyone. It is good. Luffy and others shouted together. Immediately, I saw the melee moving like flying along with the current. Gradually, a large piece of light appeared in front of his eyes. See, that's the sky. Usopp yelled first, under the magnifying glass. He was the first to see it. Great, let's go out. Sanji and Nami are excited. After staying in Raab's belly for so long, I can finally see the outside world. This is a great route. Go ahead. Luffy sat on the bow, very excited. Boom. Suddenly, the current intensified, and the melee was washed out all of a sudden. The sky was blue, and there was an endless ocean current below, and then Abu's shocking cry rang out again. Out. Everyone was in high spirits, and there was a feeling of seeing the sun again. Boom. At this moment, a dull impact sounded, but Raab is hitting the red earth continent again. Raab. Seeing this, everyone's excitement disappeared instantly. Its body is riddled with holes, especially its head. If it continues like this, I'm afraid it will die. Thinking of what Kurok said and what they saw in Abu's body, everyone fell silent. No matter how strong the body of the whale is, it is nothing compared to the red earth continent. Hitting the red clay continent with your head is slow suicide. Death is inevitable. Shoot. Suddenly, Luffy stretched his arms, grabbed Abu's body, and jumped in front of Rabu, immediately. Rubber, pistol. Boom. He punched Raab hard in the face. What? Raab was in pain and looked at Luffy angrily. Fight back. The huge body swayed, and Luffy was thrown hard on the rock wall. Rubber, bell. However, Luffy quickly jumped up, his arms stretched out, forming a pendulum pattern, and hit Raab violently. Raab was in pain again. Luffy, what are you doing? Seeing this, Nami said angrily. Luffy. Are you going to kill Raab? Usopp also yelled. Hey, it's a bit too much. Sanji lit a cigarette and said. Hee, everyone would be angry if this whale dragged you into its stomach, let alone pirates. Mr. Nine sneered, better to kill this whale, it would save them a lot of trouble. Miss didn't speak on Wednesday, but just vaguely felt that something was wrong. Although it is new acquaintance, these people do not have the hostility of ordinary pirates. And although Luffy's shots looked fierce, there didn't seem to be any murderous intent between the moves. This is by no means intended to kill Raab. Sauron didn't speak, but thoughtfully, he vaguely understood what Luffy meant. Except for Moonlight, he was the first person Luffy invited to board the boat after all, and he has the deepest understanding of Luffy along the way. Moonlight sat down directly, without any intention of making a move. Along the way, who did Luffy kill? It's the vicious Baiji Kelluo, Click who cruelly used poison gas bombs against them, or Eren who gave Nami a shadow that will never go away. Did he kill it? No. So far, Luffy has lost a single life. He just goes his own way. At this time, Luffy and Raab fought again, and after a while, both of them were injured. Moonlight, Sauron, hurry up and stop Luffy. If this continues, Raab will really be beaten to death. Seeing this scene, Nami looked anxiously at the two of them. However, Sauron also sat down directly like the Moonlight at this time. Hey, you guys. Usopp couldn't help feeling anxious. Sanji put out the cigarette but in his hand, and looked at Luffy with serious eyes. Since the two of them choose to avoid seeing each other, then it's up to him to stop them. Stop it, Sanji. Everyone, since you are on this ship, you have recognized Luffy. He is our captain, we have to trust him. Chapter 78. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Moonlight said lightly. Okay. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Yes, since they are on the ship, they are accepting Luffy's invitation. Luffy is their captain, why don't they trust him? Why would they willingly leave their homes and go to sea with them? Why? Thinking of the little things they knew with Luffy, all of them suddenly laughed. It was Luffy who invited me to board the ship. I only went to sea in order to become a great sea warrior. In this case, I believe in my choice, and even more in the captain I recognize. Usopp smiled, with an unprecedented look in his eyes. Although this guy saved me from Eren and gave me back my freedom, this is not the reason for me to board the boat. The real reason for me to board the boat is that I believe that going to sea with him can realize my own dream. Nami also smiled, thinking of the past. There was a smile on the corner of her mouth. Shoo! Sanji spat out a long, circular mouthful. When the old man asked him to take me away, he refused. He said that Sanji didn't want to. Later, I got on the boat willingly. For all blue, of course, there is Miss Nami now, but the most important thing is that Luffy can become One Piece. I left the old man for this reason. Sanji laughed too. The three also sat down, quietly watching Luffy who was fighting with Abu. They believed in Luffy. The five sat side by side, looking at Luffy who was covered in bruises, with a smile on his lips. At this time, the morning sun rose, and the golden light sprinkled all over the sea, shimmering the entire sea, and the golden light fell on the five people. Everything was so harmonious. These people. Mr. Nine trembled, and almost missed the double sticks in his hands. This was the first time he had seen such a person, especially this kind of trust, which a killer like him has never experienced. Are they pirates? Are there such pirates in the world? Miss stared blankly at the group of people on Wednesday. She has been in the work agency for a long time, and she is used to the intrigues, and cruel killings among pirates. This is the first time I have seen a pirate like this. Boom! At this time, Luffy and Raab collided again, but this time, after Luffy flew up, he stood on a rock wall, looked at Raab, and shouted. Hey, listen carefully. My name is Luffy. I'm the man who is going to be the One Piece. I know about you. Now I'm leaving here. You have learned my strength. I will bring back the person you are waiting for. But before that, you have to stay here obediently, understand? Immediately, Raab was stunned, staring blankly at the man who had just fought fiercely with him. Luffy. This guy. I see. Haha. Hearing this, Nami and the other five laughed. Sure enough, Luffy is still the same Luffy, and he did not disappoint everyone. Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine stared wide-eyed, looking at Luffy with disbelief, which they never expected. Brother, you have been fighting with others for a long time, just to tell them that you are very powerful. Ha. At this time, Kurox came out from nowhere, looked at Luffy, and couldn't help but smile. Okay, did you hear it? If that's the case, then you should remember me well now, and this mark. This is our pirate flag. Listen carefully, I will come back soon. When you see such a pirate flag again, I will bring back the person you are waiting for. Seeing Rabo calm down, Luffy took the paintbrush and drew the straw hat pirate flag on Rabu's cracked head. What? Raab yelled again, but this time, he didn't hit the red land again. It was afraid that it would damage the mark. Obviously, he already believed in Luffy. Alright, Moonlight, Zoro, Nami, Sanji, Usopp, let's go. Luffy looked at the Moonlight Five. Yes, Captain. The five nodded, boarded the Mary, and left. And Miss and the two on Wednesday also hurriedly boarded the boat. Trust them, Raab, I have a feeling they're going to make it. Watching them go away, Kurox looked at Raab and said with a smile. What? Raab nodded, calm as never before, and kept looking at Luffy and the others until they disappeared from sight. Is this the Great Route? It's so beautiful. At this time, Luffy and his party have left Gemini Gap, and are heading towards the next island pointed by the record pointer. Looking at the endless, unprecedented blue sea, Nami said excitedly. Really, the seas of the Great Route are different. Usopp also nodded excitedly and looked around. Sanji is cooking, Zoro is sleeping, Luffy is sitting on the bow, and Moonlight is practicing sword. Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine are bored watching the sea in the cabin. Everyone didn't restrain them, but they couldn't leave the vast sea right now. Strange, that cloud. Nami was looking around excitedly, when suddenly, she saw a cloud flying over from the sky. She didn't care at first, but then her expression became stunned. "No way, how is this possible?" That she was astonished, but at this moment, the cloud had already flown over. I saw pieces of snowflakes falling from the sky, and in a blink of an eye, heavy snowflakes flew, turning the 10-mile sea into a world of ice and snow. "Snowing?" Usopp looked at the snowflakes falling in his hands and said strangely. "No, it's only a few months now, how can it snow?" At this time, Sanji came out with a plate in his hand. Seeing the snowflakes falling in the sky, he became puzzled. "Wow, it's snowing, it's snowing." Luffy got excited. He didn't care what the months were, he just thought it was fun. "It is indeed snowing. Is this the changeable weather of the Great Route?" Moonlight froze for a moment, then continued to swing the sword. He has to continue to improve his strength. "What an incredible sea." Nami sighed, but when he looked up, he saw another cloud flying over. After a while, it started to rain again, with lightning and thunder. This. Now several people were surprised. Rain, thunder, lightning and snow appeared together. "This weather is too chaotic. Hee, what's the fuss? The Great Route, that's it." Seeing the fussy expressions of several people, Mr. Nine sneered. "That's true. No matter what happens on this route, there is nothing to be surprised about. You don't have to worry about it. As long as you have this, you will have a clear direction and follow the current to reach the next island accurately." Miss Wednesday pointed at her record pointer and laughed. "By the way, there is a record pointer, nothing to worry about." Hearing this, Nami breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 79. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is this the thing? At this moment, Luffy stretched out his arm at some point, walked around behind Nami, grabbed the recording pointer, looked at the recording pointer, with a strange expression on his face. "Luffy, be careful, this thing is very important, in case you..." Seeing this, Nami quickly reminded, however, before she finished speaking, Usopp suddenly screamed. "What?" Usopp. Luffy was taken aback suddenly, moved his hands, and turned around quickly. Crack. And this time, the record pointer in his hand was suddenly crushed. "Luffy." Nami was angry. "This bastard, is he just so careless? This is the record pointer. How could they sail without it?" "What? Luffy. Let's change the captain." The others stared wide-eyed. "This is the record pointer. Now on the whole boat, I'm afraid that Luffy doesn't know how important this is." "Usopp, what's wrong?" Luffy looked at Usopp quickly. "It's getting foggy." Usopp shouted. Under the magnifying glass, he could see a huge cloud of mist drifting towards the sea in front of him. "It's getting foggy." Hearing this, everyone was startled, but at this moment, the thick fog had already dispersed. Everyone's vision was blurred, and within 10 meters in front of them, there was a vast expanse of whiteness, and nothing could be seen. "Damn it, what the hell kind of weather is this? First it snowed, then rained, thundered, lightning, and now the fog has come. Is this the Great Route?" Nami tried to look ahead, but could see nothing but whiteness. Immediately cannot help but drink. She is a first-class navigator, and she came to the Great Route, but she felt that she was no different from a rookie. The Great Route overturned everything she knew about the sea. "No, there is an iceberg ahead. Sanji, hurry up, steer left 90 degrees, hurry up." And at this moment, Usopp yelled again. But I saw him looking around with a magnifying glass to observe the surrounding situation. At this time, he can see the farthest. Sanji was in charge of the helm, and suddenly he saw a huge iceberg, meters ahead, and the Mary drove straight past it. "Iceberg? No, I saw it too. What a big iceberg. Sanji, quick, quick, quick." As soon as Usopp finished speaking, a huge iceberg appeared in everyone's sight. The speed of the sea current is too fast, it is difficult for people to react, and the thick fog obscures their vision. When they react, it is already too late. Sanji didn't dare to neglect, and when Usopp shouted, he had already started to steer, but it was still too late. The melee quickly slammed into the iceberg. At the current speed, once it hits, the consequences can be imagined. No, it's over. It's about to hit. Mr. 9 and Miss roared on Wednesday, they are going to be finished. Buzz. However, at the moment when the melee was about to collide, a crescent-like sword aura suddenly flew over from the direction of the observation deck. Slashed the iceberg all at once. Boom! The iceberg shattered and turned into countless pieces of ice, which fell in all directions. The Mary sailed safely. Moonlight. Seeing this sword energy, everyone couldn't help but be overjoyed, because they are too familiar with this sword energy. It is the Moonlight that is practicing sword in the observation deck. Between the lightning and flint, only the Moonlight can react. Nami couldn't help but be overjoyed. Saved. Great, saved. Usopp breathed a sigh of relief. This guy, doesn't the fog affect him at all? Sanji looked at the Moonlight and let out a mouthful of smoke. He couldn't figure it out. In that situation, how did the Moonlight emit sword energy and hit the iceberg accurately? Could it be that the thick fog couldn't block his sight at all? The iceberg was chopped up. Mr. 9 and Miss opened their mouths wide on Wednesday, looking at the icebergs that broke into pieces with disbelief on their faces. That man was cut to pieces with a single strike. This is an iceberg. I'll lead the way now, Sanji. Turn the rudder 30 degrees to the left. The Moonlight jumped down from the watchtower and came to the bow of the ship. Under the domineering aura of knowledge, although the fog was filled, the surrounding conditions were all in the mind. Sanji was right, the fog had no effect on him. It is good. Sanji nodded and did as he was told. In this way, after a while, the Mary left the fog safely. It's safe. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. This great route is really scary. First it snowed, then rained, thundered, and then there was heavy fog. We almost hit an iceberg, so what happened next? A storm. Usopp murmured, recalling the previous experience. He couldn't help but be terrified. This is just the beginning. The great route is already so terrifying, so if they continue to sail, what will they encounter? Shoo! As if in response to his words, gusts of wind blew violently just as Usopp finished speaking. All of a sudden, there was a strong wind, the sea was turbulent, and the melee was blown to this side, shaking endlessly. The people on board were staggering and lost their stability. Usopp and Nami were even blown up into the air and fell into the sea. Usopp, Miss Nami. Seeing this, Sanji couldn't help being shocked. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, keep an eye on the ship. Moonlight jumped into the sea suddenly. The raptor Duan Kongjan unfolded, the human sword merged into one, turned into a phantom, and moved quickly towards the two of them. The two were quickly caught. It is good. Sanji breathed a sigh of relief, and then the three of them quickly stabilized the Mary, while Zoro pulled down the canvas to prevent it from being blown up by the strong wind. Moonlight, thank you so much. Saved. When Usopp and Nami saw Moonlight appearing beside them, they held on tightly and breathed a sigh of relief. They thought it was over for now. Hurry up, the storm is fierce, let's rush out. Moonlight nodded, but didn't board the boat. Facing the storm, the raptor cut down and moved wildly. Immediately, Nami and Usopp turned into a phantom, facing the storm, and kept moving forward. Hey, Moonlight, are you going to rush out of the storm like this? Put me down, I'd rather fall into the sea. Seeing the Moonlight leading him towards the storm, Usopp couldn't help but burst into tears. He didn't expect Moonlight to save them in this way. Brother! Are you really here to save us? Moonlight, don't! Nami screamed too, rushing in the face of the storm. This man is too crazy. How can people resist the storm? This is a natural disaster. He actually started running on the sea. Is this a human? Miss was shocked again on Wednesday. He was already shocked by the Moonlight sword shattering the iceberg, and now he is completely stunned. It was the first time he had seen someone running on the sea. He didn't dodge or evade, and rushed towards the storm. He would be blown to the end of the sea. Mr. 9 looked at the increasingly violent storm around him, and couldn't help but sneer. Ah. The Moonlight ignored it, and the sword energy was vertical and horizontal. and the raptor dragon Dwankong continued to use it, moving towards the storm. No matter how violent the storm is, no matter how rough the sea is, he will not waver in the slightest. Suddenly, the storm disappeared, the sky was clear, and the sea was calm again. Seeing this, Moonlight jumped onto the Mary and put Nami and Usopp down. It is finally over. Next time we fall into the sea, don't let the Moonlight save us. That the two trembled and burst into tears. What did they go through just now? Moonlight, if you want to go crazy, just go crazy alone. Why do you bring us with you? Is it finally LV3? Chapter 80. The captain is full, but the whole ship is not hungry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing the voice from the system in his mind, Raptor Dragon Dwankong Jean finally reached level 3 after continuous practice. The LV3 Raptor Severing Slash already has a certain ability to stay in the air. In other words, being able to move in the low air is like moon steps. It's just that Uebu stagnates in the air at an extremely fast speed and is extremely maneuverable, while the Raptor Severing Slash uses fast slashes to cause a stagnation in the air. Not only that, the LV3 Raptor's air-braking slash, the friction with the air intensified during the movement, and the sound of breaking through the air disappeared immediately, turning into a more violent sword gale. If it is shrouded in arrogance, it will be even more powerful after being armed. TCH, if you don't appreciate someone saving you, then you should drop it again. Sanji pursed his lips, glanced at Usopp, then immediately brought out a cup of hot drink from the kitchen, and came to Nami enthusiastically. Miss Nami, come have a cup of hot drink, be careful not to catch a cold. This guy. Seeing this, Sauron couldn't help curling his lips. Thank you. Nami reached out to take it, expressing her gratitude, then looked around the sky, and finally fell into the currents. Her expression became dignified. Too bad, after the impact just now, we're afraid that we've deviated from our original direction. The current here is too strange. I can't judge where we are going now. What? Hearing this, Usopp couldn't help being shocked. In this case, are we going to circle in circles like Uncle Kurox, and never find our way? Sanji and Zoro didn't speak, but looked at Nami. If so, that's a big problem. Nami nodded. Although she didn't speak, everyone could understand the meaning. At the moment, my heart sank. Could it be that they have been drifting on the great route like this, and they will never be able to land? Nami, you are a navigator. At this moment, Luffy questioned Nami seriously. Isn't it all because you destroyed the record pointer? Hearing this, Nami was furious immediately, and kicked him flying on the board of the ship, furious. That's right, it's all because of you, otherwise how could our record pointer be broken? I think we might as well have a change of captain. Usopp, Sanji, and Zoro also shouted. This guy, what is he pretending to be in his head? Why are they doing this? Isn't it because of you? What a terrible navigator, what a poor captain. Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine were intimidated. This group of people is too cruel to the captain. Hey, get your record pointer. At this moment, Moonlight suddenly came to Miss Wednesday, pointing to the record pointer she was wearing. You. The two of them turned pale with fright, and Miss Wednesday even hurriedly covered the record pointer on his arm. This is the only signpost for sailing in the sea. Once lost, where will they go in the vast sea? However, when they saw Yueguang's indifferent eyes like ice, they couldn't help trembling. What a terrifying look. Just looking at each other, the heart can't help trembling. Miss didn't dare to resist on Wednesday, and obediently handed over her record pointer. Wow, there is still a way for Moonlight. Looking at the record pointer handed over by Moonlight, Nami immediately put it on her arm carefully, and then protected it like a treasure, especially when she looked at Luffy. Her face was full of wariness. Yeah, how could I have forgotten the two of them? Usopp slapped his head, resenting himself for such a simple solution. Why he didn't think of it. Sanji and Zoro looked at Luffy, who stood up again with wary faces. They must not let this guy get closer to the record pointer. Okay, I see. Luffy waved his hand, sat on the bow of the boat, and turned to look at Sanji. Sanji, I'm hungry. Moonlight. Zoro. Usopp. Everyone was speechless for a moment. what was this guy thinking in his head? Wait. Sanji waved his hand and walked towards the kitchen. As a qualified chef, this is his duty. Soon, Sanji finished the job and looked at the table full of colorful and delicious food. Everyone was salivating, even the two of Miss Wednesday were greedy. I'm gonna start now. Luffy jumped over all of a sudden, shouted politely, and then started eating. Everyone nodded. This guy finally looks like a captain. However, when they lowered their heads to eat, they couldn't help being stunned. They saw that the table was full of food, but now it was empty. Where's the food? Everyone was puzzled, and Miss pointed at Luffy with a look of astonishment. On Wednesday, I saw that Luffy's stomach suddenly became as big as a ball, round, and Luffy was lying on the ground, hiccuping. He alone, the moment everyone raised their heads, he ate everyone's food. Hey, Luffy, what is your stomach made of? Luffy, you bastard, you are full alone, isn't the whole boat hungry? Captain Bastard, at least leave me a piece of meat. After reacting, everyone glared angrily. You are full, how about us? Is this to feed the captain and starve the crew to death? I suggest changing the captain. If you agree, raise your hand. Usopp suggested. I agree. Immediately everyone raised their hands, even Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine raised their palms, because Luffy ate all the food that belonged to them. Okay, unanimously approved. Now I have decided that I, Usopp, will be the captain. Usopp volunteered. Roll. Climb. Split. Everyone despised, disdained, and sneered. Usopp froze in place. Am I that unpopular? No one agrees. However, at this moment, two sounds of falling into the water sounded, and everyone was shocked, but it was Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine who jumped into the sea and escaped when everyone unanimously rejected Luffy's position as captain. Goodbye, you guys. The two looked at Uegwang and his party coming out of the cabin, and smiled triumphantly. They didn't record the pointer. Aren't they afraid of getting lost? Usopp couldn't help asking. No, these two people came prepared. It's not that simple. Sanji took a breath and said. Yes, they are killers. Which killer will get lost? Sauron also nodded. I don't think we need to care about them. What we should solve now is our food problem. All the food has been eaten by Luffy. What do we eat? Nami pointed at Luffy and asked, no matter what those people are doing now, solving the problem of food and clothing is the most important thing now. No way, the food on the boat has been eaten up, and now we can only resupply after arriving at the next island. Sanji shook his head. There was nothing he could do without ingredients. What? Everyone couldn't help being frustrated. There's an island there. Moonlight suddenly pointed forward.